Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back, and I want to apologize for that long, love to call it a sabbatical, but it wasn't such. Nevertheless, been deep in contemplation, which I know sounds maybe bizarre to some of you because this is a podcast about fly fishing. But it isn't just about fly fishing, isn't it? If you've been listening for long enough, you know that this is about life and fly fishing and the wonderful parallels and the wonderful people and experiences that come along with it. So here we are back again. It's the holiday season. I'm late for Thanksgiving, so happy late Thanksgiving, but Merry Christmas to all of you. Things will change a little bit, but not all that much. I've got a 3-part short series for you that I'm going to do based on a talk that I did for Trout Unlimited. It's a subject I've been studying now for about a year and a half, more intensely over the last year. And, well, no further ado, I give you my pitch. My name's Adam Corman. I'm a licensed guide here in the state of Pennsylvania. We are looking at starting a fly fishing academy, a school, a 3 or 4 day process where we can educate you very deeply. So stay tuned for more details about that. We've got some sponsors and campgrounds, Airbnb, as well as On Water, the app makers have been very gracious to us. Nevertheless, we'd love to have you out on the stream and teach you what we know and what we continue to grow in. With all that said, let's get into the good stuff. So here we are back again, and I'm just going to kind of jump right into this. I hope you're all doing really, really well, and I appreciate as I watch people still listening, new people showing up as listeners and downloaders. If any of you have not, I would really ask you for 2 things right up front. Subscribe wherever you're listening so that you get updates to this podcast. It's free. It costs you nothing, but it does big things for us. It helps other people discover it. The other thing I would love for you to do, whether it's Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening to us, most of you at Spotify or Apple mostly, and on your mobile devices, I would love for you to please leave an honest review. I don't care if you disagree with me or you've got something that you want to get off your chest or say, or even if it's comments about, hey, have you thought about doing a podcast about this? So on and so forth. With one caveat as I go forward, I will no longer, as just a simple business decision, be interviewing guides from Pennsylvania about their fly fishing guide services. As much as I love the people that I've talked to, it seems kind of counterintuitive for me to advertise for people who are, in a sense, competition. Now, Bill Anderson, completely different story. He is sure competition, but he has an amazing history, and he's done so much work among other people that have helped on the Little Juniata. But that's just a little caveat I wanted to throw out there. In the meantime, what I want to present to you today is part 1 of a 3-part series. It's a bit of an argument I want to present to you on some really cool scientific data, psychological data, and philosophical conclusions that I've drawn from them. And the title of this is really simple. Part 1 of Why Fly Fish at All? An Invitation to Wonder. Now, some of you might be saying, well, I already listened to that episode. You didn't listen to that this episode. This is very different. And it's different in the sense that I'm bringing some data to back up things that I said there that I think is eye-opening, important, amazing, wonderful. So some of you may have watched, maybe even fans. Maybe you don't like it at all. J.R.R. Tolkien's wonderful series of books that were brought to life by Disney, The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. J.R.R. Tolkien is hands down the one of the greatest creators of fantasy and wonder to be brought into literature. And he's known to say, not all that glitter is gold, and not all that wonder are lost. And that's an important thing for us to hold on to, because I want to talk to you about today the science of wonder and awe. It's pretty amazing, and I hope you enjoy it. And I'd really like some of your feedback on some of these things. So why fly fish at all? An invitation to wonder. Now, I know some of the more competitive folks out there might be saying, well, it's to catch fish, as many fish as you can, and so on and so forth. And that's great. That's part of it. But my argument, part of it, will be, if that is your goal in fly fishing, period, you are missing 80% of what fly fishing has to offer. The goal, if you will, in my opinion, in my view, of the sport of fly fishing. So a few years back, one of my first years guiding officially, I had taken a group of 3 coworkers out. And this one particular gentleman, we'll call him James, and he may be listening to this, I don't know. His name is not James. Had this wonderful experience. One of the things that I do when I'm on the stream, because I love people and I love instructing people, is I want to know your story. I want to know what you're about. I want not that to just be an experience about fishing, sure, but I really want to be, in a sense, I want to be an encourager. I want to support you where you're at. I want you to know that you can have conversations in these intimate fly fishing settings and be comfortable with it and get some things off your chest, if you will, as we're talking about fly fishing and navigating the stream and so forth. Well, this particular individual happened to be going through a pretty rough time. And I'm not going to get into the details. Suffice it to say, it was rough. It was a really tough time. And he was doing fairly well on the stream compared to his other 2 compadres. And because he showed up with his own net, I said, tell you what, James, go upstream there. Don't go out of eye shot. I want to be able to see you. I'm going to work with these other 2 gentlemen because they keep missing fish. So as we attempted to teach, where to place that fly and how to set and when to set that hook and so forth, and be anticipation of a fish every time you make a good cast. About 5-10 minutes went by, and all of a sudden we heard a bit of a yell. And here James was, prepared, pulling his net down and landing his first trout. And it was this beautiful brown trout on a stream in the Laurel Highlands, which is some of the most beautiful places to fish in this state. And we went up there, and I told these guys, you guys hang out here, you keep fishing, keep working on it. So we went upstream, and I went upstream with him, and we went get a couple pictures and stuff. And he looked at me, and James is in tears. Now, I get that, from where I'm going in this conversation. But at the moment, I didn't understand why he was crying. I'm like, oh boy, did I say something? I'm like, what's, are you in pain? What's happening? And he goes, Adam, you don't understand. And he just divulged all this very personal stuff that was going on in his life. And he said to me, no words mixed, you have no idea how important this trout is to me, how important this day, and so on and so forth. And that was what happens when you connect with wonder and awe, and you let those things into your soul. You let that beauty and the sublimeness and the ecstasy of this beautiful world that we live in do what it's supposed to begin to do. And I very purposely made a distinction, begin to do. Because as I navigate through this content and through this argument, what I want to present to you is wonder and awe are not in and of themselves the thing that we're after. Those experiences, in my opinion, are part of the teleos, the design, the direction, the goal, the purpose of getting us somewhere. But that's for a later podcast. Einstein once said, "He who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe is as good as dead. His eyes are closed." It's a pretty powerful statement, huh? What is wonder? What is awe? What is this thing I'm even talking about? Well, Dr. Ross Inman, who is a philosopher, said, "Wonder is a distinctly human response to reality, one marked by a deep sense of astonishment, admiration, and awe." Isn't it interesting that he defines it, and among others, wonder is a distinctly human response to reality. One of the things that I try to pass on to my clients when we're on the stream is that fly fishing so often is categorized, and hunting and hiking and all those things, as an escape from reality. And I think that that is false. I think it's part of reality that we need to find a rhythm of flow to navigate, to put in our lives as a means for what I think this is all purposeful and designed for us to be refreshed, right? That's not the ultimate. That's just part of it. But the refreshment, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual fostering that takes place when we experience wonder and awe is part of, built into the reality that we experience, especially us fly fisher people. And Inman's onto something here. You don't escape from it. You just experience a different part of it in a different way, categorically. So let's talk a little bit about how wonder fosters physical well-being. I actually think that it's a conclusion. It's causation from the mental side of it, because our brains and so forth work, well, they ought to anyways. For mine, it doesn't always, with the body, to help it, to heal it, and so on and so forth. But nevertheless, I'm going to start with the physical. How does wonder foster physical well-being? What's interesting, because there is data that shows that you can actually decrease your blood pressure. You can actually calm anxiety. You could combat depression by regular experiences of wonder and awe. The science of emotion is just, it's really exciting to me. One of the interesting findings is that when we experience wonder and awe, according to Dr. Paul White in his article, The Neuroscience of Health Benefits and Health Benefits of Experiencing Awe and Wonder from the Neuroscience Institute, he says that our prefrontal cortex lights up. What does that have to do with us, right? Well, that's the part of the brain that controls executive function. It's where our ability to plan, focus, and make decisions kind of stems from, no pun intended. It helps us process significance of what we're witnessing and integrate it into our understanding of the world. More about that to come a little bit later. But it's interesting that we can find ourselves focused on something more when we are regularly experiencing these moments of wonder and awe and splendor. And at the same time, it releases dopamine, which, if you know anything about the brain, dopamine is a word that gets tossed around an awful lot nowadays, especially speaking about screen time and cell phone use and so forth. Dopamine is that reward hormone, that reward mechanism that takes place in our brain that allows us to experience joy and satisfaction. Now, think about this correlation here. Wonder and awe causes us to release dopamine. When life is anxious, when we find ourselves dark and depressed, isn't that interesting? That just experiencing, maybe it's the beauty of a sunrise. Maybe it's a really good book. Maybe it's the smile and the beauty of your wife of a long time. Maybe it's the glow of your child that you've been so blessed to be part of that upbringing. I know some of those things are very personal to me. And I can say from eyewitness testimony that those things bring wonder to my life. It also triggers insula. It's a region that connects body awareness and emotion. This interaction creates a profound link between our physical sensations and our emotional experiences. See, so many times people will say, well, don't be so emotional. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. But what's interesting is the connection between our emotional experiences and our physical sensations, that there's a connection between those two, which most of us, if we think a little bit about, would not deny it. And see, the DMN, the default mode network that is in our brain, gets quieted when we experience wonder. It's where we daydream and ruminate. It's when our minds wonder, that when we wonder, our minds and that process is quieted and we're able to focus more. It reduces that activity. It causes us to feel more connected to the world around us. And like I said about that earlier, more to come on that connectedness and why it's important. But this calmness, there's actually been some people theorizing that through regular experiences of wonder and awe, there's even the possibility of reducing heart disease. Causes even potentially better sleep, because that stress hormone cortisol that not only keeps us up but makes us fatter sometimes is something that can potentially be combated physically because of wonder. And this quieting of mental chatter and this decreasing of rumination fosters clarity and calm, according to the Harvard Business Review, in an article titled "Why You Need to Protect Your Sense of Wonder, Especially Now." It is fundamentally and absolutely positively important to our very existence. But let me talk a little bit deeper about what wonder is. What are some of these philosophers and some of these scientists saying? How are they really unpacking it? And I know I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit. And some of you may be going, yeah, I get it. Well, let's take it a little bit more seriously. Because remember, my challenge is why fly fish at all, an invitation to wonder. And I think Einstein's quote there that I used at the beginning of all this really begins to put forth one of my parts of my argument, which is if fly fishing is just about catching fish, and a whole bunch of fish, if that's the case, you are missing 80% of the point. Your eyes are closed. Datcher Kettler, in his book, The New Science of Everyday Wonder and How It Can Transform Your Life, says this about awe. He says it's the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your current understanding of the world. Inman goes on to expound on that in his quote earlier when he says, when we are gripped by wonder, we are startled out of the ordinary humdrum of human experience. When rightly ordered, Wonder can indicate to us that we are in the presence of something truly excellent and worthy of our sustained attention. An English philosopher, Robert Scruton, once observed, beauty is not viewed with indifference. Beauty is never viewed with indifference. It speaks to us directly like the voice of an intimate friend. Some Platonic thinkers believe that experiences of beauty and wonder are the radiance of truth and goodness. That wonder has something more to it. There's something about wonder that it doesn't just affect us in a private, personal way, and that's it. Remember I said earlier, I don't think wonder in and of itself is the goal here. And my argument, as I continue, will hopefully be developed and be clear to what I'm really trying to say here all along. Russ Ramsey in Van Gogh Has a Broken Heart, What Art Teaches Us About Wonder and Struggle of Being Alive, describes one important aspect of this experience, the sublime, as the sublime refers to qualities of places, forces, and experiences that are distinguished by their ability to transform, overpower, and overwhelm us. So when we talk about wonder and awe, we're really talking about encounters with the sublime and the beautiful and truth and goodness. Those moments that stop us in our tracks and remind us that there is more to the world than our ordinary routines. And then what happens, I think, is that when we allow those experiences into our lives, when we, if you will, seek them out, make them part of the ebb and flow of the rhythm of our lives, we find ourselves being a little more childlike. And there's this beautiful quote from the literary critic and philosopher G.K. Chesterton that I think really brings this into view. And he says, a child of 7 is excited by being told that Tommy opened the door and saw a dragon. But a child of 3 is excited by being told that Tommy opened the door. Fly fishing, being outdoors, experiencing these moments of splendor and wonder and beauty and the sublime are moments that we should not take for granted. Allow yourselves, that open door, to be changed, transformed, moved, calmed, focused. Those are good things. And wonder and awe and the experiences of these things, which is like describing a day or even an hour, a few moments on the water. I remember about a month and a half to 2 months ago, I was on a guide trip through Cross the Divide with 2 gentlemen. And I had gotten up pretty early in the morning, as I always do, because I love mornings. And I made my coffee in my AeroPress from my good friend Benjamin Sutphin and his wife Stephanie, and their family has a wonderful coffee shop. And yes, this is a free advertisement for them in Zelienople that goes by the name of this coffee. And it's a great place. Great coffee. See, I even find wonder in good coffee, so I had to tangent on that one. But I took my coffee, I put my waders on, I went outside, and I made my way down to the stream. And it was one of those mornings that it was chilly. It was late fall. And in this particular region of the state, almost all the leaves were gone, except there was this we've had an interesting fall. I hope some of you got to notice it. Even my ornamental grasses at my house and some of my fountain grasses had this beautiful decay to them, I guess, as those grasses die and things go back down into the root system and things hibernate, if you will, for the season. It was like they were on fire. We didn't get the beautiful leaves everywhere in the state like sometimes we do, but there were other things that compensated. And I get down to the stream from, viewing and experiencing the walk down there, as I just described, and there's this sweet mist around every corner of that flowing river. And it isn't a great river. It does have some wild fish, more stocked than wild. But it was fascinating because I don't always throw conventional fly line. But that day I convinced myself that's all I was going to do. Dry dropper, conventional line. Water was not moving much, and I needed to give myself distance. But I wanted that opportunity to see if I can entice something to the surface. But if not, anchored below my dry would be hopefully an appropriate nymph, something enticing to the critters of that river. And I think I caught 2 or 3 that morning. And both to all 3 were wild brown, non-stocked fish. And one of them was a beauty. It was really interesting because when you fish these big pools, as many of you know, you don't always get to find the thalweg, the main current. So you have to have a little bit of trust or faith in the science when you understand how a river, how a system works. And then once I kind of saw a little bit more of that current, I saw a little bit of structure that flowed, that the current, that main thalweg, the current flow through. And I made this cast, presented it to the fly with a mend, presented it to the fish with a mend, and it didn't drift 3 feet, and it went down. The fish came up, sipped that dry off the top, and it ended up being this beautiful, beautiful brown trout, which maybe I'll put, in the imagery of this episode. And all of that, every moment of it, just standing beside that river with the mist coming off of it and the glassy flow of the river, no insects, the remnants of a fall that had come and gone very quickly, and the reminder that winter, both temperature and snow, were just around the corner from the frozen dew that was underneath my feet. That moment or moments, even though I was there to guide, was absolutely positively overwhelming to me. I stood there grateful to be alive, to breathe the air in, to be able to live one more day to experience that, among many other things. That is my articulation of a day of moments of wonder. And I seek that. Life is crazy. Life is busy. This year has been very tough for us here in the Corman household in some interesting ways. But I'm not going to bore you with all that. Suffice it to say that wonder is fundamental to being human. It's something I would argue strongly. It is a fundamental human experience. As Inman said, a fundamental response by humans to our beautiful reality. And I have more information here if you would like it. I can email it to you on all these other amazing benefits that literally we could go on and on and on and on about. But imagine how terrifying, how devastating anxiety is to the brain, to the body. What if I told you there was a way that you could combat that without ever taking a drug? And I'm not here advocating not taking medication, but in part with it. Or before you go take medication, maybe step outside, pick up a fly rod, ask somebody to teach you, give us a call. I would love to introduce you to the one sport I think from bottom up and back down will give you opportunities to experience wonder and awe. So that's a couple little things when it comes to what does all of that wonder and awe do physically to us. And there are other things that are in the research. As a matter of fact, there's a doctor from the UK, and I'll try to remember to link this in the description, who is now, hopefully it's just fly fishing. Just kidding for any of my spinner fishermen friends out there. But he is actually now, because the science is so solid on this and he's so convinced by it, beginning to prescribe days of fishing for his patients. I think that's pretty awesome. I think that's a wild, awesome testimony. And it's just confirmation to what many of you that are listening already know. And I'm just trying to find a way, as I kind of do life, articulate all this, find the why behind all of this, what. And because to me, the experience of wonder and awe in and of itself is not where the story ends. So next week, I'll be talking more psychological and then moving into the philosophical. And then the following week, I want to kind of put it all together and give you what I think is the teleos, the purpose, the motivation that wonder instills in us. What does it point to? Is there a purpose to it all? Or does it just stop there? Because what happens if we find that we can't experience it anymore visually or physically or emotionally? What happens if it's just a memory? I don't know. Friends, thank you so much. I want to throw this out there real quick. Come visit us. We will have a small little setup, probably selling some of our flies at Moraine State Park's Winterfest 2026, which is January 31st at 11 a.m. and it goes to 3 p.m. Come see us, but come also experience Winter Wonderland at this beautiful park. Public lands will be there. There will be all kinds of different local craft vendors, food, snacks, horse-drawn wagon rides, live music, guided hikes, chainsaw carving. None of that I'll be doing, by the way. You don't want to see me with a chainsaw around people. Nevertheless, come out and see that. That's going to be one of the first local shows that we do this year. We love doing local stuff like this because there's so many great things around us. Even though I try to chase people to central Pennsylvania so often for the better fly fishing experiences. I'll also be talking a little bit more about my partnership of sorts with the campground guys and 4 of their beautiful campgrounds in the state. They have, I believe, 6. And we have some other really cool things that are coming up. So spread the word. I hope to see you there. Cabin Fever, the Pittsburgh West Trout Unlimited Cabin Fever event is right around the corner as well. I hope to see you there. We also have a show coming up in Akron. I'll let you know about. I believe that's January or March. I don't exactly remember what I'll let you know about that. So if you're in the Ohio area or you want to travel out there, that's a great sportsman show. There are tons of stuff to win just by walking in the door. I'll be doing 2 or 3 lectures there. Haven't decided exactly what about yet. Maybe wonder and all. I don't know. We'll see. Nevertheless, thanks for listening. Thanks for all of you that stick around, that come back and check to see if I've got another episode. I'm trying to get back into the flow of this again, and got a lot of things keeping me busy that are important. But you guys are important too. So I appreciate it. And I will put another episode out next week before Christmas. But if something crazy happens, Merry Christmas. Thank you all once again so much for joining us. You've been good friends to me. You've been encouraging every time I get that update on the people listening. So remember, keep your lines wet. It is not about the destination. It's the journey that makes us. But there is a destination. God bless. Till the next time.